Stop for a second and look closely at the dime in your hand, because what seems like a normal coin might actually be hiding a rare mistake that collectors are quietly hunting right now. The Roosevelt dime is one of the most common coins in circulation, but that is exactly what makes certain hidden errors inside it so powerful. In the case of a special 1998 dime, most people would never notice anything unusual at all. It passes through vending machines, cash registers, and pocket change every single day without anyone giving it a second thought. If you have ever casually checked your pocket change, you probably never imagined that a small silver-colored coin could quietly carry a story worth thousands of dollars, or in rare cases, even life-changing money. But that is exactly why the 1975 Roosevelt dime has become such a fascinating topic among coin collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people who suddenly realize they may have been holding history without knowing it. Now picture this for a moment. It's an ordinary day. Someone receives change at a store, maybe from a coffee shop or a vending machine. A small dime lands in their hand. It looks normal, nothing special. It has Roosevelt's profile on one side, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the other. It looks like every other dime from the modern era. Most people would toss it into a jar without a second thought. But what if that tiny coin was not ordinary at all? What if it carried a secret only a few people in the world truly understand? The year 1975 sits in an interesting place in American coin history. It was a period when the United States Mint was producing coins in massive quantities to support everyday commerce. Dimes were struck in Philadelphia and Denver for circulation, and also in San Francisco for special proof sets aimed at collectors. On the surface, nothing about 1975 seemed unusual. No major redesign, no dramatic metal change. Just another year in the long continuation of the Roosevelt dime series that began in 1946 after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. But behind that normal appearance, something very important was happening in the world of coin production. Proof coins, especially those made in San Francisco, were expected to carry a tiny S mint mark. That little letter indicated where the coin was made, and for collectors, it was essential. Without it, a proof coin becomes something far more mysterious and far more valuable. The Roosevelt dime itself has always carried symbolic meaning. The front shows Franklin D. Roosevelt, chosen not just because he was a president, but also because of his connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fight polio. The reverse design shows three powerful symbols: the Torch of Liberty in the center, flanked by an olive branch representing peace, and an oak branch representing strength. It is a small design, but packed with meaning. Every line on the coin tells part of America's mid-20th century identity. In 1975, millions of these dimes were struck for everyday use. They passed through hands, cash registers, and coin rolls across the country. Most of them are still only worth 10 cents today. But in the world of coin collecting, the value of a coin is not always about how many were made for circulation. Sometimes, it is about what went wrong during production or what escaped without being noticed. This is where things become truly interesting. Among the proof coins produced in San Francisco in 1975, a very rare mistake occurred. A small number of dimes were struck without the S mint mark. To the average person, that sounds like nothing. But to collectors, it is like finding a signature missing from a limited edition artwork. It changes everything. Because proof coins are carefully made for collectors, they are supposed to be perfect. They are struck multiple times with polished dies, producing sharp details and mirror-like surfaces. Every detail is inspected. That is why a missing mint mark is such a big deal. It should not happen, and when it does, it becomes one of the most sought-after modern coin varieties in existence. Now imagine holding a coin that looks like a normal 1975 dime, but under magnification, something feels off. The surface is too perfect. The strike is too sharp. And then you notice it. There is no S mark where it should be. That single missing letter turns an ordinary-looking coin into a legendary rarity. Collectors refer to this as one of the great modern error mysteries of U.S. coinage. And the reason it is so powerful in the market is simple: extreme scarcity. Only a tiny number of these coins are believed to exist, and even fewer have been confirmed in high condition. The excitement around coins like this comes from a mix of history, chance, and discovery. Unlike ancient coins buried for centuries, modern rare coins like this one might still be sitting unnoticed in collections, coin jars, or inherited boxes. That possibility keeps people searching. It creates a sense that treasure is not just in museums, it might be at home. Many collectors spend years studying details like mint marks, strike quality, and proof finish just to identify coins that others overlook. And the 1975 Noes proof dime represents one of those legendary needle in a haystack finds that fuels the entire hobby. But what makes this even more fascinating is how something so small can carry such a dramatic value difference. A normal 1975 dime is worth 10 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, it might only be worth a few dollars. Yet this rare variety, in top condition, has been known to reach astonishing figures. In the highest grades, collectors have paid amounts that can reach into the tens of thousands. And in exceptional cases, strong demand has pushed values even higher, approaching the kind of numbers that change how people view everyday pocket change forever. That contrast is what makes this story so powerful. It is not just about money. It is about perception. It is about realizing that value is not always obvious. Sometimes, it is hidden in plain sight. Think about how many times a coin like this could have been spent without anyone noticing. Imagine it slipping through vending machines, cash drawers, or store counters for years before someone finally takes a closer look. That idea alone is enough to make collectors double-check every coin from that era. The journey of discovering one of these rare dimes is often accidental. Someone might inherit a coin collection from a relative. They might buy a mixed lot of coins online. Or they might simply be sorting through old change out of curiosity. At first, everything seems ordinary. But then, something unusual catches their attention. A detail that does not match. A missing mark. A proof like shine that should not be there on a circulation coin. And that moment of realization, is what coin collectors live for. The 1975 Roosevelt dime also represents a turning point in modern numismatics. It shows how even relatively recent coins can become rare and valuable due to production quirks. Unlike ancient gold coins or colonial currency, this is modern history. It connects directly to people's lifetimes. That closeness makes it even more exciting, because it means anyone could theoretically find one. But here is the important truth that experienced collectors always emphasize. Not every 1975 dime is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are completely ordinary. The rarity lies in very specific proof issues, especially the missing mint mark variety. Without that exact characteristic, the coin remains face value. Still, the possibility is what keeps interest alive. It encourages people to look closer, to learn more, and to understand the subtle differences that separate common coins from extraordinary ones. As we reach the final part of this story, it becomes clear why the 1975 Roosevelt dime continues to capture attention. It is not just about a piece of metal. It is about discovery. It is about rarity hiding in normality. It is about the idea that something incredibly valuable could be sitting quietly in the most ordinary place imaginable. So now imagine this one final moment. You check an old coin jar. You find a dime dated 1975. At first, it looks like nothing special. But then you notice the details, you compare it, you investigate further, and slowly the truth begins to appear. You might be holding one of the rarest modern dimes ever produced. And if that ever happens, if you ever discover that your coin is one of those rare proof varieties without the mint mark, then yes, you would be holding something that collectors have been willing to pay up to around $80,000 or more in exceptional cases, depending on condition and demand at the time. Just one small coin. One tiny detail, one life-changing possibility hiding in plain sight. And that is why the 1975 Roosevelt dime is not just another coin. It is a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things can carry the most extraordinary secrets. If you look at a dime dated 2011, your first reaction will probably be the same as almost anyone else in the world. It looks modern. It looks common. It looks like something that still belongs in active circulation, not something that could ever be considered rare or historically important. And yet, this is exactly the kind of coin that teaches one of the most surprising lessons in modern collecting. Age does not determine value, and new does not always mean ordinary. A 2011 Roosevelt dime is part of a system that has been running for decades. The design itself is not new at all. It traces back to 1946, when the United States first introduced the Roosevelt dime after the passing of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. That design has remained consistent for generations, becoming one of the most recognizable small coins in American currency. Every detail on it carries meaning. The portrait of Roosevelt represents leadership during one of the most difficult periods in modern history. The torch on the reverse represents liberty. The olive branch symbolizes peace. The oak branch represents strength. These three elements together form a quiet but powerful message that has remained unchanged for decades, even as the world around the coin has transformed completely. By 2011, the dime was being produced with modern precision at multiple U.S. mint facilities. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco all contributed to the production of coins that year. Billions of coins were struck across denominations, and the dime remained one of the most frequently used coins in everyday transactions. It was the kind of coin you would find in your pocket without thinking twice, the kind you would receive as change from a store, or the kind that might sit unnoticed in a jar for years. But what most people don't realize is that modern coins like this are not as simple as they appear. Even in a highly controlled minting environment, mistakes happen. And when mistakes happen in a system producing billions of coins, the results can sometimes create unexpected scarcity. A normal 2011 dime is worth exactly 10 cents. That is its face value, and in most cases, that is where its value ends. It is composed of a copper core with outer layers of copper and nickel, giving it that familiar silver-like appearance without actually containing any silver. It is designed for durability, efficiency, and mass circulation. Nothing about it suggests rarity at first glance. But collectors are not interested in what a coin is supposed to be. They are interested in what it becomes when something unexpected happens during production. And in modern coinage, those unexpected moments are where the most interesting stories begin. One of the most fascinating possibilities with any modern Roosevelt dime is the existence of minting errors. These errors are not common, but they are not impossible either. In a production process that runs at extremely high speed, even with strict quality control, a small number of coins can escape with imperfections. These imperfections are what transform an ordinary coin into something that collectors suddenly pay attention to. For example, some dimes can be struck slightly off-center, causing part of the design to shift in a noticeable way. Others may show doubling in certain letters or details due to dime movement during striking. There are also rare cases where a coin might be struck on the wrong metal blank entirely, creating a mismatch between design and composition. These types of errors are not specific to 2011 alone, but they are part of the broader world that makes modern coin collecting so unpredictable and exciting. What makes the 2011 dime interesting is not that it is known for one single famous variety, but that it exists within a period where collectors are actively still discovering and documenting unusual error types. Modern numismatics is still evolving. Unlike ancient coins where everything has already been cataloged for centuries, modern coins still occasionally reveal new varieties when people carefully examine them under magnification. The Roosevelt dime series is especially important in this regard because its long, consistent design makes small differences easier to notice. When a design stays mostly unchanged for decades, even the smallest variation becomes meaningful. A slightly missing detail, an unusual strike, or a subtle difference in metal layering can stand out to someone who knows what to look for. Now imagine holding a 2011 dime in your hand. At first glance, nothing stands out. The surface is normal. The design is familiar. The color is consistent with other modern coins. But under closer inspection, you might begin to notice subtle things that most people would never think to check. Maybe the strike is unusually sharp for a circulation coin. Maybe the surface shows signs of unusual polishing from the die. Maybe the edge appears slightly different under light. These small details are the starting point for discovery. Most people never reach this stage because most people never look closely enough. Coins move too quickly through daily life. They are spent, exchanged, stored, or ignored. But in the world of collectors, attention is everything. Attention is what separates a common coin from a potential variety. And that is where the real story of the 2011 dime becomes interesting. Not because every example is valuable, but because any example could be the starting point of something unusual. There are collectors who spend years searching through rolls of modern coins, carefully examining each one under magnification, hoping to find a minor error or variety. It is a slow process, almost meditative in nature, but it reflects a deeper truth about collecting. Value is often hidden in repetition. You look at thousands of ordinary objects in order to find one that is different. In most cases, even if a 2011 dime has a minor error, its value may only reach a small premium above face value. Some might sell for a few dollars, others might reach higher depending on the type and visibility of the error. In more dramatic cases, where the mistake is visually striking or highly unusual, collectors may pay significantly more. But these situations are rare, and they depend entirely on the uniqueness of the specific coin in question. Still, the excitement is not only about high value. It is about discovery. It is about the possibility that something overlooked could suddenly become interesting once noticed. That feeling is what keeps modern coin collecting alive, even in an age where cash is used less frequently than before. If you pull out a dime dated 1998, at first it feels like one of the most ordinary coins you could ever find. No silver shine, no ancient history, no obvious rarity. Just a small, copper-nickel coin that has probably passed through thousands of hands, vending machines, cash registers, and pockets without anyone ever giving it a second thought. And that is exactly what makes it interesting. Because in the world of modern coins, value does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides inside something that looks completely forgettable. The 1998 Roosevelt dime belongs to a long-running design that started back in 1946. The same portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt appears on the front, unchanged in spirit for decades. The reverse still carries the torch of liberty, flanked by the olive branch and oak branch, symbolizing peace and strength. By 1998, this design had already become so familiar that most people stopped seeing it at all. It became background currency, something used automatically without thought. That year, the U.S. Mint was operating at full modern efficiency. Millions upon millions of dimes were struck for everyday circulation in Philadelphia and Denver. These coins were built for speed, durability, and mass use. They were not meant to be rare. They were not meant to stand out. They were meant to disappear into daily commerce. And for the most part, they did exactly that. A normal 1998 dime today is still worth 10 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, it usually remains close to face value or only slightly above it. It is made of a copper core with outer layers of nickel, giving it that familiar silver appearance without containing actual silver. It is simple, functional, and extremely common. But here is where things become more interesting than most people expect. Even in a year like 1998, where nothing famous or legendary was officially produced, the minting process itself can still create small surprises. Coins are struck at extremely high speed, and even with strict quality control, not every coin is perfectly identical. This is where the hidden world of error coins begins. A 1998 dime can, in rare cases, show characteristics that separate it from the millions of others produced the same year. Sometimes a coin is struck slightly off-center, causing the design to appear shifted. Sometimes the pressure during striking is uneven, leaving parts of the design weaker or distorted. In other cases, a coin might be struck through a small piece of debris, leaving a unique texture or mark on the surface that should not be there. There are also rarer situations where the metal layers behave unexpectedly during production. Since modern dimes are clad coins, meaning they are made of multiple bonded layers, any slight error in bonding or striking can create unusual visual effects. These are not common, but they are exactly the kinds of anomalies that collectors pay attention to. What makes these errors important is not just their appearance, but their scarcity. In a production run of millions, even a tiny fraction of a percent becomes significant when it results in something visually distinct. Still, it is important to understand something clearly. The 1998 dime is not known for any single legendary variety that automatically makes it valuable. There is no widely recognized Holy Grail version of this coin that suddenly transforms it into a fortune on its own. Instead, its interest comes from possibility rather than certainty. That is a key idea in modern coin collecting. Not every coin has a famous story attached to it. Some coins become interesting only when something unusual happens to them individually. Two coins with the same date can have completely different outcomes depending on how they were struck and preserved. This is why collectors often examine coins under magnification. To the naked eye, everything looks normal. But under closer inspection, small differences begin to appear. The sharpness of the strike, the alignment of the design, the surface texture. Even the edge of the coin can sometimes reveal subtle clues about how it was made. A 1998 dime that has been heavily circulated will usually show wear on Roosevelt's face and the torch lines on the reverse. But a well-preserved example from a mint set or an uncirculated roll can still show crisp detail. And in rare cases, if something unusual happened during minting, those details can appear slightly different in a way that catches a trained eye. Most of the time, even interesting-looking examples only carry modest premium value. They might be worth a few dollars depending on the type and visibility of the error. The true value depends entirely on how dramatic and verifiable the variation is, and whether collectors actively seek that specific type of mistake. But the deeper appeal of a coin like the 1998 dime is not just financial. It is psychological. Because when you realize that even a completely modern, ordinary-looking coin could potentially carry a hidden variation, you start looking at everyday money differently. You start noticing details you previously ignored. You start understanding that mass production, no matter how advanced, is never completely perfect. That realization changes how people view coins in general. The 1998 dime sits in an interesting position in this story. It is modern enough to still be everywhere, but old enough that people are beginning to look at it with curiosity rather than just utility. It represents a time when physical currency was still fully dominant in daily life, before digital payments began reducing how often coins were actually noticed or examined.